Hello everyone. Today in this video we are going to start a very important topic of grammar. So dear students, the name of the topic you can see here on the board is modals. Modals are known as modals also or modal auxiliaries also, right? So let's understand what are modals. Modals are the modified forms of helping verbs. So when this word helping verb comes, so we understood that helping verbs are is, am, are, was, were, has, have, had, etc. But along with that we have modal auxiliaries also, right? So whatever I told you, is, am, are, was, were, has, have, had, do, does, did, these are also helping verb, but with that we have can, could, may, might, will, shall, like this. These verbs, these type of helping verbs are known as modal auxiliaries, right? As you know, the second name of the helping verbs are auxiliaries. So we have two kinds of auxiliaries. One are the primary auxiliaries and the second one is modal auxiliaries. So when we talk about primary auxiliaries, is, am, are, was, were, has, have, had, do, does, did. These are primary auxiliaries, and the modal auxiliaries are can, could, may, might, will, would, shall, should, etc. Total we have to cover 13 modal auxiliaries. So what is this? Modals are the modified forms of the helping verbs. This is very important. Modals are the special type of verbs. Modals are used to indicate modality or mood. So I have used here one word, modality. This modality means what? This shows, this expresses the mood of the speaker, right, or the writer, where we have to use where we have to write something or speak something. So these modals actually they express the mood of the person. Modals give additional information about the function of the main verb that comes after it. Now one very important thing, just look at this last point I have written here. Modals give additional information about the function of the main verb. So when I am talking about main verb, what are these main verbs? I have told you earlier too that we have two kinds of auxiliaries. So auxiliaries are other than main verbs, right? Main verbs are different and auxiliaries are different. So let me tell you that when we are talking about this helping verbs are known as auxiliary verbs also, and these are divided into two parts. Number one is primary auxiliary and second one is modal auxiliary. But other than this we have one thing, that is what? That is main verbs. So main verbs are what? Which tell us the actions like cry, read, write, listen. Okay, so these type of verbs are known as main verbs, right? So what we have to do? We have to do the combination of both of them, modals also with main verbs also. So always you have to remember that whenever we will use the modals in the sentence, we have to use main verb with that, right? And the base form of the main verb we have to carry, means the verb first form we have to carry, we have to put in the sentence, because this is actually a rule that after modals we will not use any second form or third form of the verb. So base form we have to take with us and we have to form the sentences. Clear? These are very important points. So what we understood here, that modals are the special type of verbs which are added with the main verbs, right, to tell the modality of the speaker. Clear? So that is what, and when modality means what? Mood here, right? And which main verb is used here? First form of the verb, which is known as base form also. So when we are talking about modalities or the mood of the mood, right? So modality means the type of behavior, that is attitude or the way of the writer of the speaking feeling. It may tell that it is we are using the sentence to ask permission. It may happen we are telling some necessity. It may happen we are giving some suggestion or advice. So that will depend on the modality of the speaker or the writer. So when we are talking about the modalities, these are the examples, like it may be certainty, maybe possibility, maybe willingness, maybe ability, right? These can be expressed by using modals. So first modalities we have to see here. I have made here the list of the modality. Ability. What is the meaning of ability? Ability means to do something, like the skill to do something. Like he is very good at drawing. So what is that? That is the skill. So he can do, right? So what are the models we have to use? That we will learn afterwards. Like he can do this. So that is what? That is showing his ability, his skill to do something. Second one is permission. Second modality may be permission, right? So here when we are allowing someone to do something, so that is known as permission. Advise, A-D-V-I-C-E. I have told you earlier too, this word advise, A-D-V-I-C-E. This is, we are having two spellings of this word, A-D-V-I-S-E also and A-D-V-I-C-E also. So one is used as noun and one is used as verb. If we want to use this as a verb, right, A-D-V-I-S-E, so A-D-V-I-S-E-D will be the second form, but A-D-V-I-C-E-D is C-E-D will be wrong, because A-D-V-I-C is what? That is noun. So I will write it more clearly here. It is what? Advise, A-D-V-I-C-E. This is noun. A-D-V-I-S-E. This is what? Verb, right? This is what? Verb. And I hope you learned the trick which I gave you, that you people have seen Cartoon Network. So Cartoon Network, right? This you have to remind like this. The spelling which is having C, right, like A-D-B-I-C-E, that will work as noun. So C वाली जो spelling है, that will be noun, और जो S वाली spelling है, that will be verb. So if you want to write down advised, what would be the spelling? A-D-V-I-S-E-D. Please take care here. So let's talk about advise here. Advise means what? When we want to give guidance to someone, right? So that is also one modality. Obligation, that means what? Necessity. Like you have to do this work, that is your duty. Duty to do something, that is obligation. And necessity, when something is very necessary, जब बहुत ज़्यादा ज़रूरत है कुछ करने की, so that is necessity. So here if we want to show these modalities while writing and speaking, so we have to use modals, right? Now just take a screenshot of this or note down in your notebook, and next we will learn about the modals, or we will see the list of the modals which we have to cover in this session of modals. So here, dear students, we will discuss different modalities and what are the auxiliary verbs or the modal auxiliaries, sorry, we will use for different modalities or different modes. So when we want to express the ability, right, we can use these three modals. Number one is can, number two is could, and number three is be able to. So let's understand the use of can. Can is used to tell the ability, right? Like you are able to do something, but that is in present. Like I can draw the sketch of birds or animals or anything, or I can draw the sketch of anyone, right? So that is what your present ability, like you can do this. This is your skill that you can do this, but that should be in present. When we will use could, that will tell the past ability. Like when I was young, I could run very fast, but now I cannot do that because that was my past ability. So for that we will use could. Next is be able to. So be able to, where we have to use where ability is more possible than can. Okay, like he will be able to do this. Suppose we have two persons, Ram and Shyam, and we think Ram can do this and Shyam can also do this, but Ram it is not means when we take the percentage, so whose possibility is more? Shyam's possibility. So Shyam will be able to solve this, but we have some doubts on Ram. So when we have a little bit more faith on someone, or you can say ability which is more possible than can, so here we have to use be able to. Next is second modality we have to express today is, that is obligation, advice and suggestion. So that is, for that we can use should also, must and ought to. Okay, this is actually I am telling you in all the modalities, but in detail we will discuss all the models. So don't worry about that. Obligations, advice and suggestions, when we have to express these, so what we will use? Should we can use, must we can use and ought to we can use. So let's talk about should. To make a suggestion or advice, like you should do your work properly, you should listen to the videos carefully, you should note down whatever you listen in the videos, right? So this is what, this is a suggestion or the advice. So here you can do should. Next one is must. Where we have to use must? Suggestions, or this suggests the strong obligation or the compulsion and a desire of the speaker, like you must do this. Suppose it is very necessary that whatever you will listen here, whatever the notes I am making for you, you must note down that in your notebook. So there, this is showing the compulsion of the speaker. I am speaking here that you must make the notes, you must jot down whatever the important points are. So for that you can use must, right? Next is ought to. Ought to conveys the moral duty. Suppose your moral duty, you have to respect your elders, right? So that is what you ought to. What is this? You ought to respect your elders. That is your duty. So when you have to express something which shows the moral duty or the sense of the moral duty, there you have to use ought to. So let's understand once again. Should, when we have to give the normal suggestion or the advice. Must, when the strong obligation is there or the desire of the speaker, right? Then in that case you have to do must. And the third one, ought to, that conveys the moral sense of a speaker, right? You कि suppose मैं कह रही हूँ और आपको ये पता है, उसमें किसी के कहने की ज़रूरत ही नहीं है, और this is your moral duty कि आपको you ought not to ill treat the animals. So this is your moral duty, right? You ought to respect your parents. That is your moral duty. So in that case you have to do ought to. So let's talk about the third one, that is permission. If we want to express permission, we can use these three things: may, can and could. So may, let's understand may. May is formal and polite, like may I come in? Whenever you just want to come in inside the class, what do you ask to your teacher? May I come in? So this is what? Formal and polite, right? You cannot say can I come? So that is informal. You cannot ask this, right? Because to teachers you ask this question, or anyone who is at high rank, you used to take the permission from them. So you will do formal type of permission there, you will ask in formal way. Formal and polite when we will do, that is may. But when you want to ask your friend to just get the pen, right? So can I take your pen? But if that pen you want to take from your teacher, so may I take your pen please, something like that. So may is formal and polite. Can is less formal than may, means when I told you like can I take your pen, so this is what, when you are speaking in informal way to your friends or relatives, something like that, so then you can use can. But may I take your pen ma'am, so that is what, formal way. Next is could, and could is more polite. Could you please lend me your pen, okay, or could you please give me your pen? So that will be more polite than may. And this is also used to grant permission or take permission in past also, right? Like he could permit me to solve this sum, he could allow me to do this. So when you want to show that permission into past, clear? Next one is possibility. Possibility, for to show this modality possibility, we can use 4 modals. We can use 4 modal auxiliaries. Number 1 is may, number 2 is might, number 3 is can, and number 4 is could. So let's see, let's understand the use of may. May will show the stronger than might, because may is the weak, might is used to express the weak possibility. Suppose I am saying you can see the clouds today in the sky, so it might rain, because generally it is not happening for many days. So it might rain, but if you want to if you just divide the ratio in 50-50, then you will do might, it might rain. But when it becomes 70-30, so it may rain, so possibility is more, right? And can, journal occasional possibility, like he can do this, okay, he can solve this, or he can come today. So that is the possibility, journal possibility or the occasional possibility. So for that we can do can. And the could one, very weak possibility. When we want to show something very weak possibility, so then we will use could. Might से भी ज़्यादा weak possibility अगर है, so could we have to use. And the next one is provision. Provision means you are not allowed to do this, right? This is prohibited for you. So must not and ought not are the 2 modals, ought not to, or the 2 auxiliary verbs, modal auxiliaries which you have to use, that is must not and ought not to. So must not, when you cannot do this, because this is rule, you must not you can say anything ki when you are unable to break any rule, because that is the rule, right? You must not speak Hindi in the class, that is what, this is the rule, because, right? And you cannot break the rule. So in that case you have to use must not. And the second one is ought not to. So you cannot do this, you are not allowed to do, because that is a moral duty. Like you ought not to disrespect your parents. So because that is your duty, and you ought not to do the disrespect of your parents, right? So these are the different moods which I have written here. Just take the screenshot of this and note down this in your notebook. And in the next video, we will learn the use of all these models one by one. That can, where we have to use, could, where we have to use, shall, should, like that. Okay. But today you can just take the screenshot of this and note down this. Thank you very much. In our next video, we will learn ahead.